right across the cosmos. And as usual, exotic spaceships will roam the galaxy and dogfights in space will end in spectacular explosions. The team at Red Dwarf managed to create blockbuster effects, but they do it on a budget that wouldn't buy a Hollywood lunch. So how do they do it? They do it here at the BBC Visual Effects Workshop. This is where they create every single special effect shot for the program, every spaceship and every explosion. With a small budget, you make your big effects small too.
In this sequence, Ace Rimmer is trapped in a World War II German plane with a crocodile. Don't ask us why. But they don't waste license payers' money on a real plane on this program. Behind the workshop, the team have a model plane suspended by its tail. They use a wind machine to blow smoke past it to make it look as if it's passing through clouds. The cameraman cunningly films the sequence from off to one side and at an angle, so the plane looks as though it's flying horizontally. Rimmer escapes from the plane along with his reptilian friend, but the hindcull explodes.
This may not be Independence Day, but this model cost, well, pounds. They then put pyros, tiny explosive charges, into various vital parts of the model. And the plane itself is weakened at critical points, so it'll fly apart when the explosion goes off.
Goes off camera.
All ready to go. Wind and smoke are switched on, the cameras are ready, palms are sweaty. Remember, there's a few quid at stake here. But the result looks like $1 million.
These people aren't just master model makers, they're fixers who can supply as-new spaceships at knockdown prices.
The models are made from whatever we can find that is handy and will do the job. There was one spaceship that is made from a garden vac, essentially, and parts of this model are made from answer bones, but hopefully you would never recognise them.
In the new series, Starbug is chased by a deadly Gelf fighter. The chase takes place across a mysterious, icy wilderness. And the entire ice planet was made by Peter and his team. How? Well, they have their own stage at the famous Shepperton Studios outside London, and the whole sequence was filmed here. The ice planet is a miniature set built on a raised platform. The rocks are carved from polystyrene blocks with hot wire, and then painted to look like mountains and cliff faces. The whole thing has a convincingly chilly atmosphere. It crackles with the cold, and there's not an ice cube in sight. In this business, they take everything with a pinch of salt. In fact, here they use 750 kilos of the stuff. It's the right color, it doesn't melt, it stays where you put it, and for that fluffy snow effect, they used baby powder.
Nothing here is what it seems, even Starbug.
Basically, we've got the large-scale Starbug, which is 25th scale, and this is for close-ups and for crashing when we have to crash Starbug. Then we've got a smaller version here, which we use for most of the flying shots because it's that much easier to fly. There's an even smaller version for distant shots.
And how about the flying? How do they make it so realistic? Well, all the craft are attached to wires and flown from suspension rigs. For this part of the sequence, Starbug and the Gelf fighter are fixed to a rig that runs along a rail suspended from the ceiling. But for some shots, you can't beat the coordination of the human mind, eye and hand.
Whoa. There you go.
But take two is fine. There's no money in this show for expensive computers to paint the wires out, so how come we never see them?
Hopefully the wires are never seen because we use powder puffers to put colours onto the wires so that they blend in with the background.
Add some heavy-duty sound effects.
Lift now!
And there you have it. So next time you watch Lister, Rimmer, the Cat and Crichton swooping around the cosmos, spare a thought for Peter and his visual effects team. It's one small budget for them, but one giant bang for us.
Would you ever have guessed it? And every day The BBC News, it speaketh truth unto the nation. Yet when you look closely at this magnificent set, we actually have a bit of an illusion on our hands.
Good evening, I'm Michael Burke, and I'm real, which is more than can be said for the rest of this studio. It doesn't exist. Not the floor, not the lights, not even the cut glass coat of arms. It's all virtual reality.
So, though it doesn't look it, the actual studio is really terribly Spartan.
So how do we do that?
Well, the first thing that hits your eye with the news is the cut glass coat of arms. Inside it is a spinning globe of the world. A direct descendant of this, the original famous BBC spinning globe.
We couldn't have had a real crest built in glass to put in the studio, because first of all they wanted one that was to look really huge in the studio, which would have been totally impractical and obviously dangerous as well.
Instead, the logo was created on a computer. First, Jo made an outline of the new design on her screen. Then she color-coded the outline into a three-dimensional image. Lastly, she created the glass look, adding reflections so it looked like the real thing.
With the coat of arms in place, the famous curved desk was added by computer. Then it was just a question of switching on the lights. Yes, these were done on the computer too, every lamp, bulb and bracket. They create the illusion they're really working because they were designed to match up exactly with the way the studio seems to be lit. Once this was sorted, there was another big challenge for the BBC's design staff.
We wanted a design theme that ran through all the programmes, but the programme editors wanted each programme to have its individuality. We had to find a way to please everyone.
The answer was to make subtle colour changes in the set for each news bulletin. Positive pink for the morning, going through various darkening stages of blue through the day, to the main news of the night in authoritative dark blues and bronze.
Good morning and a warm welcome to Business Breakfast.
Good morning to you. It's 8 o'clock on afternoon.
Good evening.
Good night.
Behind the newsreader, there are 7 coloured panels, not computerised, but the real thing. They're easily removable and can be changed over to suit the next bulletin's colour scheme. The whole operation only takes 20 minutes, which means at the beginning of each day, the set's ready in plenty of time for the breakfast broadcast.
Morning from Sally and Mitz, 7 o'clock.
Next, a really important job, making the newscaster fit into the computerised background. How do they do that? Well, they take the real image of Michael Burke and simply shrink him down to size. A painless process, luckily. But what that means is that Michael Burke works in a world that doesn't really exist. So how does he feel about that?
Well, there's one thing you must make sure that you don't do, and that's make gestures or go like that, because you kind of disappear. And that's what I mustn't do, and the people there mustn't have finger trouble with the buttons, because I could be disappeared, just like that, into thin air, and come back again.
Roads and railways.
For the illusion to work, everything has to be very tightly coordinated. Otherwise, things can get a bit wobbly.
Russia's Foreign Minister, Yevgeny Primakov, has told NATO he's ready to begin discussions on a new understanding.
They get round this problem by using robot cameras, which look like they're close relatives to Doctor Who's Daleks. They find their way around the studio floor with a barcode scanning system, much like the one used in your local supermarket. The light at the back of the camera scans the barcodes on the studio walls, and from that, the camera works out where it is. But in overall control is a human being. By simply touching the screen, he can pick the picture he wants, and the camera will go after it.
I really rather miss having cameramen there, partly for, I don't know, the company when you're doing the programme, and also because you get a kind of reaction. I suppose it's like any speaker talking to an audience. I kind of miss that. And also they're a bit like Daleks. They kind of light up and move around in this rather eerie sort of way. So it makes you feel a bit funny sometimes.
What these clever little robots mustn't do, of course, is to get their wires crossed. Neither must they mow down or exterminate any humans who might happen to be on the studio floor. So each camera has an invisible infrared skirt, which allows them to detect any obstacle in their path, living or otherwise. All very futuristic. But what's next?
That's a very, very interesting question. We started this some 3.5 years ago. Since then, we've taken it a long way already. Where do we take it ultimately? Well, that's limited by a number of things. Technology, money, of course, but the real limit is the imagination.
And it's not just the BBC News studio that's an electronic illusion. Other productions are going the same way, with sets completely designed on computer. Fantastic backgrounds and robotic cameras can put actors and presenters in an exciting three-dimensional world of their own. And maybe Michael Burke had better watch out, because at this rate, it won't be long before the Boffins are serving up computer-generated newsreaders.
Well, if I was asked to create a news presenter on the computer, I'd have him looking like George Clooney if I could.
The main news tonight.
But until that day comes, our familiar BBC faces will do the job just fine.
So that's how we do that.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And the news team will be doing it again in just about, what, 10 minutes' time?